Hey everybody, guess what? It's Jamie Van Dorn here with D8 for inspiration. That's right, it is your inspiration for the weekend. You get a whole D8. You can use it however you want. Anyways, today we are talking about live streams. Oh, by the way, if it's your first time here, you probably want to know what Neverending is and what we're all about. Well, I'm going to tell you. So I'm the CEO and founder of Neverending. We are a really cool up-and-coming TTRPG and entertainment company. My team and I are developing a cool website or a web app where you can create awesome characters. You can add those characters to custom scenes that you create from our library of backgrounds, props, and creatures. And soon you'll be able to turn those scenes into webcomics or even turn them into animated videos. So cool. But today we are here to talk with these amazing creatives about streaming actual play games. So if you like games like D&D, if you like games like Wander Home, like Masks, or any of these TTRPGs, and you want to know what goes into making them fun for the players, for the DMs, and for you folks who watch, well, now's your chance to find out. So be active in the comments, talk to us, and with that, I want to turn it over to our creatives so that they can introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, I'm BrandyRose. You can find me on Twitter at TheBrandyRose or here on Twitch as Cutest Patoot, where I also teach people how to do actual play production, creative production, executive production. I break everything down and show everybody every step of the way as far as I can. So hopefully more people can make them. But yeah, other than that, game designer, game dev, technically worked on a video game finally. And very, very excited to be here and chat with you guys about APs because I love APs and I think there's so much potential in APs and I'm very passionate about making them and making them good.
I am Dan Munoz of Nat One Fun Productions. I run a few actual plays on Wednesdays and Saturdays and then some other live improv stuff. But of course, if you know anything about Nat One Fun or myself, I love to kind of bring things to a new level. Like I like to make animations, live animations, and things happening on the screen so that they kind of boost the level of production and everything like that. So I really love doing extra things for TTRPGs. And I love bringing new people in and talking about what they can expect whenever they go to an actual play.
And hi, I'm Lauren Urban. I'm the content coordinator over at Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. I am a frequent TTRPG performer. I do a little bit of production, but mostly I play on actual plays. I am the DM for a long-running podcast called Distinguished Adventurers. I'm currently on Children of Erte on Tuesday nights on the Demiplane channel, and I kind of just show up on a lot of other streams.
And if you guys have not checked out Children of Erte, check it out. It's so cool. The premise is great. Character development is fantastic. And the players, so good. So good. You guys have to check it out. Yeah. Actually, all of these folks are fantastic. So I would highly recommend that you give them a follow on Twitter or wherever you like to follow people on social media, assuming that they're there. So also really quick, before we get into it, I want to mention we have new emotes. So cool. So cool. Check them out. Feel free to use them. We're excited for them. And yeah, that's it. So I want to talk a little bit about our experience streaming. So we have been working with the fantastic Chaotic Tiefling. If you are a company who wants to do live streaming, I highly recommend that you check them out. They can help you. If you just want to learn more about it, they also do consulting in that. But we would really not be able to have had these cool streams if it wasn't for us having a producer and a production company. There is so much that goes into it. And we're not even doing a live play. That's the crazy thing. We're just doing a talk show variety stream. So there's a lot more that goes into a live play, but I know that just the very basic stuff is all of the scheduling, the communications. There's like a call sheet that goes out ahead of time. People have to get the links. We have to figure out what it is that we're using for what's it called? The captions. Wow. And I clearly need more coffee. But I'd love to hear from you folks about some of the things that goes into creating a really fun actual play. Some of the behind the scenes stuff, and maybe some of the tips and tricks that you use to make it awesome and an awesome experience for everyone, including the players and the viewers. So I'll open it up.
There's so much. Oh,
Right.
geez, where do we start?
Right.
Right. I was like, maybe I should have pulled up one of my like AP outlines, because one thing that I always do on stream is I like share my screen. And as far as like NDAs allow, usually I'll just share my own stuff. I will like show people the step-by-step of how to create an outline doc and like the contracts and stuff for APs. So now I'm like, maybe I should have opened that up and go through it bullet point by bullet point. But like, I don't know, for me it all starts with like after like the scope of work is set, I try to put everybody in a Discord, and I make like disposable Discords, because I know everybody like is hesitant to join like anything like so much as a group chat, because they're just like, I'm already in so many, and I'm like, it's the best thing. Once we're done, you can delete this. I don't care. This is not my Discord. This is literally Discord for Project A. You don't have to get any roles, because everything in this is just for Project A, and as soon as it's done, we're gonna delete it, and I'm just gonna have your scope of work in there. But yeah, everything just starts with like clear communication, and then the session zero for me, really, or session zeros usually, if there's more than 2 people on cast and you have to get everybody's scheduling down. But yeah, that's a big one for me. Unless the session zero is part of the stream, which is when we did promo for Haunted West over on Roll20, we had a streamed session zero. But what we actually did was have a fake session zero, or a soft session zero before, and then do a slightly more staged, already like safety tools and discussed and everything consented to streamed session zero. But yeah, that's the big starting point for me, because I use that for chemistry testing for people. I use that to get people's payment info. That's the number one thing. If it's paid, you want to get immediately, and get everybody's lines and veils, character dynamics, and everything that we need for the show. So yeah, session zero is that's my baby.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of the fact that session zeros are a big deal. I think with actual plays, my first step, of course, before any of that, to be honest, is the casting process, and going through and making sure you're not just hiring people to hire people, either because they have an audience or for whatever reason you're trying to hire these people. Mine, of course, and anybody that runs an actual play should be looking for cohesion and a group dynamic that is good on the screen, and of course good together. You don't want a group that has any kind of disconnect or any kind of drama going on behind the scenes or something like that. You always want to make sure that your team is as comfortable as possible, 1, being on camera, and 2, role-playing in front of people. So the biggest things to me is to make sure that your cast is comfortable and good to go before you even reach that point. And a session zero before a session zero, kind of like a micro, private session where we can get together, talk about what's can be expected through the actual play, not just through the game itself, but through the production, what can be expected and everything like that, getting people's vibes together, understanding dynamics and everything like that. As a production, as the producer or as the director of the actual play, you need to be able to see those things while people are talking and understand where the dynamics are before you even take that next step.
I think one of the things that the both of you have really excellently highlighted is a question that comes up a lot, which is, how are actual play streams different from me just sitting around a table playing with my friends? And it's a complicated question, because the answer is it's the same, but it's different. When you actually get to the point of playing on stream, when you're actually playing the game, the goal is that should be as almost as close to just playing at a table with your friends as it is. It should be that comfortable. You should have that kind of dynamic. You're all playing a game. It's not a scripted show. You're all enjoying the dynamics of whatever TTRPG you're playing. And a lot of the preparation around it can be the same. The session 0, the scheduling, all of that stuff. But what becomes different is that level of this is a job as much as it is a joy. And I think that is the thing that people sometimes forget, or they think, oh, because this is a job, then this is, it's the same people who think that like Critical Role is scripted, who think that, okay, just because this is a performance, they can't be actually playing. And it's no, you can actually play and you can have that kind of experience, but what's happening around it, the preparation, the job part of it is very, very important. And when it's done right, like what the two of you have talked about, as both a performer and as someone who's done a tiny little bit of production, but mostly on the performance side, that's what makes it even more comfortable to sit at that table. When I know that everybody is on board in the professional side of things, then I can sit and do my job as a performer without having to worry about all of that.
That's a lot of the casting process for me too, because the casting process has like so much that informs it. And it feels like I'm always casting, because every time I meet someone, I can't help but be like camera specs, backgrounds, potential like set design, how like, and then like you look into them and you're just like, how much history do you have cosplaying? Do you do high aesthetic? Do you do like more like realism? And then into the performances where it comes out. Like I have all of these like stats, it feels like, for every like performer that I encounter. And I like file it away. Literally, it's just like a little D&D sheet, but with your like camera specs. And I have that like on file, and I have like, okay, I've seen this group like perform with these people. And then like you feel like what you kind of start to suss out and you notice is like patterns of like, this is your role playing style, because it's also really important to make sure that the role playing styles are compatible in addition to like the personalities. Because a lot of like what's can be cool is that there are people that can play well together and it's fun, but have completely different RP styles that like if it were a casual setting wouldn't really matter. It doesn't matter. We've all been at a table with like somebody who does the third person versus first person like RPing, but when you're in like a paid AP, you want things to be more standardized, then you kind of just like take note of like, okay, these people all have the same thing or are all capable of like, if I say I need you guys to be first person, then like they'll be able to do that. And it's just there's all these little stats that you gather along the way as you go through. And then of course like your sponsor, the money, will tell you what they're looking for. Like when I directed and produced Kill Screen, not tech produced, just exec and creative produced Kill Screen for Roll. They wanted something super aesthetic. They wanted like, they gave us a cosplay budget for every performer. Like they wanted it to be fully immersive. We look like these characters. And then on a new project that I can't name yet, they were like, no, we actually think it would be best for everybody to be themselves. I mean, not the character so much as like, I would look like this performing on stream. I would not have like makeup for like my character or like something for the setting, so much as like they were like, it's actually more important because it's an all Latin and South American stream. It's more important to show authentically who all of these performers are before like any kind of character stuff. So you'll get a lot of notes from the money to like go into first that you always have to keep in mind. And these are just, it's like there's always a billion moving components to casting before you get to finalize your cast and move in, that a lot of people don't think about. That's the feedback I get the most when I do my little Patoot talks. I used to call them TED Talks, but I don't want to get sued. So when I do my little Patoot talks on Twitch about AP production and about like my job, then what I get most from people is being like, I didn't even think of that. I'm like, I know, that's why I'm here.
So there's two things that I want to make sure that we touch base on, just because, you know, we never know where people are starting out. And that is, let's just do a really quick summary. Lauren, I think you've talked about this before, just a really quick summary of what a session 0 is, what that means, because we use the term a lot, but it's helpful for people to understand what that means. And then anybody can jump in and just let's talk a little. Whoops, I'm muted in Google Meets. I do this all the time. I have to mute myself in Google Meets. Otherwise, half the time it thinks that I'm talking when you guys are talking, and I'll get like the double thing. So for caption purposes, I do want to say again, Lauren, if you can hop in and share like your definition of a session 0, what goes into that, and then anybody can hop in and talk about what do we mean by different RP styles, different role-playing styles, just really briefly, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page and we don't have questions.
Yeah, so session 0, especially for me, has turned into, there's the session 0 part of it for the game, and then there's also, this is going to be a job session 0. So session 0 is a place for the performers, the DM, the GM, and anyone else who's involved in the production to be able to get together and talk over the game, talk over a lot of the stuff that everybody's already talked about. What is the overall tone? What is the setting? What kind of characters are we thinking about? What kind of relationships do our characters want? What kind are we looking for? A antagonistic relationship? Are we looking for a found family relationship? What style our DM or GM is looking to bring to the table so that we're all kind of in the same expectation? What do we all want out of the game? And often a session 0 also includes some character planning, depending on what's been going on and like art needs and everything. So often that's a good place to be, well, this is what I'm thinking about, and this is what you're thinking about. Are we okay with overlapping classes or subclasses? Do we want to keep everything separate? So there's a lot of that, which is kind of a session 0 that would be for just a home game. There's also the safety tools. This is our lines and veils. This is how we're going to express everybody's lines and veils. Some session 0s include everybody feeling comfortable talking about that in the open. Some include, here's a place you can go, a form you can fill out. I personally have an Excel spreadsheet that you can go into anonymously and just XXXXX things that you want. Either basically I'm okay with this being on stream, I don't want this on stream at all, and everything in between, and you can add stuff into it. And because it's all anonymous, everybody can go on in and see everyone else's lines and veils, because it's important for the players to know, no one has, the DM may know that I'm okay with spiders, but if someone else is not okay with spiders and I'm looking to, turn into a spider in a game, I should avoid that. So having that moment of here's how we're going to make that available to everybody so that we're all aware of that before the game. Here's how we're going to have a safety tool during the game, whether that's talking in the chat, say in Zoom, having the pop-out chat. Are we going to have a Twitter chat open? Are we going to have a Discord chat open? What are we going to have so that if you do need to either ask a question in-game, hey, I want to do this. Are you okay with me doing this? Hey, I'm not comfortable with that. Whatever kind of backstage talking in order to make sure that the game continues and is fun for everybody, how that's going to happen. And then there's tech stuff. And so like the character stuff and the game stuff and the session 0 stuff, I would do whether it's a home game or a stream game. But then there's also that important stuff that both Brandy and Dan brought up, which is, okay, what's your call time? Are we going to be in costume? Are we not going to be in costume? Do we want to set up our backgrounds in a certain way? Do we want to be in cosplay just for session 1 and then we're going to be, out of it? Any other of those considerations? Do we need to talk about some weird scheduling things? Do we need to pre-record an episode? Stuff that becomes the business side of it. Oftentimes, session 0s for some of the shows that I'm on are like a 2-hour get-together, and then also include emails and messages around that. So it can be really expansive, but like if you cover all of that to begin with, even if there's a lot of, that's a good question, hey, I'm still working on this, I'll get back to you, or hey, here's your homework for afterwards. Mm-hmm. The more that happens in a session 0, the more the stream goes super smoothly after that, because everyone has all the expectations. And I just talked a lot, so I was
No, it's good. It was amazing. You hit everything.
Yeah, I was just like, yep, nope, yep, nope, yep, yep, nope, yep. You nailed everything, because I had my cult or my session 0 sheet that I had prepared for running Fey Wild, my other show. I had that open, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit this. Nope, she nailed it. And then nope, she nailed it. Nope, she nailed it. So I mean, literally to the T. So I really don't have much to add. You absolutely nailed it. I would say that your session 0, if you're doing an actual play, your session 0 is your opportunity to kick out any kind of subject matter that might be in question of the tone of the game, what is to be expected of not only the game itself, but the production and the player expectation and the DM expectations. So the player should be going in with expectations of what the DM should provide, and the same DM to players. But I think the thing that you hit on that doesn't get talked about enough is the safety issue, or the safety cards, the safety tools, and everything like that, also being shared to the players. A lot of times DMs will gather safety tools to run the game, to make sure that the big thing of the game is encompassed, which is great. That means the tone of the game kind of follows suit with everybody's safety tools. But that means that nobody else has that knowledge to not accidentally fall into those things that might be off limits. You can avoid those things so easily by providing those safety tools to everybody and allowing them to see, also making it anonymous, obviously, but making sure that everybody sees it. That way there's no issue. Not once will it pop up.
I've had that come up with because I get safety tools from everyone, because in my mind, if you are exposed to the subject matter, I need to know your lines and veils, which means I need to get lines and veils from all of my tech producers as well, because they can't X out on stream. I can't see them. So I need to get their safety lines and veils and all those tools set for them. And I have had like a few be like, wow, nobody's asked me before. And I'm like, nobody? Well, don't let them do that again. And that's, I've noticed that's like a big thing that like people don't think about, but like tech has so much work to do, especially if I'm not, which I'm usually not tech producing because I hate tech producing. So usually what I'll end up doing is like, I talk to tech like before, and then it's like, okay, this is your to-do list. This is everything you need to test. If you need to test overlays, transitions, you want to test cameras, we want to do set design, we'll do that. Everything they can do in the background while I'm like running the session 0, and also like for the business and getting people's like payment info, etc., if they haven't confirmed it already. Session 0s are also really great places to like kind of corner people on the last details that they haven't sent you yet, because you have them face to face. And a lot of times people just forget, because also we're in so many things. Every time I book an appearance at this point, I accept a Google Calendar invite. It's in the calendar. I no longer remember that it's happening. I check my calendar every 5 minutes to make sure that I am where I'm supposed to be, because it's just too much. But like, that's like, because you do a lot of the pre-session 0 stuff in DMs or Discord or however, emails, where you're just like, okay, I need everybody's headshot, I need everybody's like payment info, I need to confirm if you do PayPal, all of the business end of things, and for promotion like stuff, making sure that people got paid, if there's anything in advance that gets paid. So if you haven't gotten any answers from a performer or even from like a crew member, the session 0 is also a really great place to be like, hey, while I have you here in front of me, can I, with my eyes, see you? Send me a headshot right now, because I need to have the like posts up tonight. So if you could just send me that real quick, or like just to confirm everybody got paid. Yes. Okay. So that's like the session 0, the reason they're so long, and they should be so long, is because we do so much of like final pre-production and like that like mid-production step in the session 0s. And I'm really, really glad that everybody here has such excellent safety tool usage, because I remember when I started out in this space, these years ago, 9 months ago, my very first like AP, there were no safety tools, and I just like went in there, and then they just did stuff that I would have X-carded, but like I didn't know how to at the time, and I was just like, Then I came to my next stream, and they were like, these are safety tools. I was like, this is so cool. Does everyone do this? And they were like, yes. Have you not seen these before? I was like, no. I'm very adamant about safety tools. Every time I design a game, there's like 2 or 3 pages on safety tools, what they are, how to use them, and why you need to use them. So very glad everybody here is such a big fan.
And they are...
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
They are extra important as a performer, like you said, like, because it's different being on an actual play than being, say, doing voiceover work or doing something that's scripted, because when it's pre-written, when it's scripted, when you're doing, I come from classical music, so when I get the music in the mail, I know what we're going to play, I know what's going to happen, I know what I need to work on. Nothing's going to surprise me as far as content. There may be joyful surprises during a performance about how things go. There may be bad surprises about me messing up a note or something. But in general, I know what's going to happen. But on an actual play, we are all working together to make a dramatic improv. And so no one exactly knows what's going to happen, no matter how well you work together, no matter what. And so having those safety tools as a performer and knowing that other people have those, know what my lines and veils are, and knowing that if something comes up that none of us had thought of that hits me in the wrong way, that I have a way of not having to do something on screen, or that, I can if I need to. The analogy that I use is you can know that the roller coaster has been inspected for safety before getting on it and still have a lot of fun on it and still be scared and still be excited. And I've had both good and bad experiences on AP over the last couple of years, because it has definitely changed over the many, many years that not just actual plays, but D&D or any of these TTRPGs have been out there. Session 0 used to be get together with pizza and just talk about your characters, and it's expanded into this. It can still be pizza and characters, but also then let's make sure you're safe. But yeah, it is one of, and it doesn't have to be that long. It really doesn't. It can be super fast. It can be, hey, here's where you're going to go and get all your information. Here's what we're going to do in game. Everybody cool? Everybody okay with that? And it's just that safety net so that I know I can improv without falling.
Yep.
Right. And I think what's wonderful about safety tools too is that a lot of people, when they hear safety tools, immediately think that the game is going to be diminished or it's going to be watered down in some way or whatever. But my favorite thing about safety tools is that when you get them and receive them from your players, especially if you already have established the tone of the game, is that you can then use those safety tools to really dig in and around them to make the story even deeper. And one, if you're playing a horror game, even scarier or even more dramatic or whatever you want to. While dodging these landmines, you can create an absolute, like, way more in-depth game, because you know where you can go, where the direction of everything that's happening and everything like that. That's, of course, speaking more as the dungeon master or the game master, but honestly, it's a wonderful tool that you can use as the game master to create an even more in-depth story.
I have never understood the response of thinking that it would water it down. I've seen it a lot, but I have never understood it, because if you need to do something that makes someone uncomfortable, you might need to practice DMing a bit more privately before you do anything.
Or practice empathy a bit more. And I know we could do a whole show on safety tools, because there's a lot out there.
And someday we should.
We absolutely. And here's the thing, it's important because not everyone is familiar with them. I literally I had never heard of safety tools until we started D8 for inspiration and somebody brought it up. And I had never heard of lines and veils. And I just remember being like, stop! What are lines and veils? Like, what are you guys, what's an X card? Like, what are we talking about? And it's because, when you play in only your own little games, there are lots of things that you just don't get exposed to because you're not familiar. And so this is a great service, I think, to lots of people getting exposed to this stuff, and we should definitely deep dive into it.
I'd say I have one more thing that will help get us back to actual play stuff. That's another thing in a session 0 to talk about is, are you okay with how those lines and veils and safety tools are used on screen? Is everybody in the cast comfortable if it comes up and is shown on screen? Because some casts want to try to keep it behind, in private as much as possible. And some are okay with it showing up in game or at least being talked about on screen. And both are completely valid, but I I love it when they actually show up on screen. And I'm going to give 2 quick examples. Black Dice Society, DMB Dave Walters, he says at the beginning of every show, this is a horror game. It's going to be dealing with content that can be sensitive. I and all the cast know each other's lines and veils. We have a way to discuss things in the, in a backstage chat. If you see a scene shift suddenly, that's us adjusting to make sure that everybody's comfortable and safe. Please take care of yourself as well. It is a thing he says at the beginning of every show, and it is beautiful because it reminds everybody, including the audience, that, you know what, this is a horror game, but we know what we're doing. We've got our safety down. I have also myself been in games and we're literally in the middle of a game. I've had either another player or a DM pause for a moment out of character to be like, are you okay with the answer I'm about to give here? I don't want to cross something. And giving me the opportunity in that moment to think about things and be like, am I okay if this goes in a dark place? Like, and knowing that I'm comfortable with that on screen, that they're comfortable with that on screen, it's really good. So do not be afraid if your cast and your DM are okay with it to show off at doing a safety tool on screen. Don't feel like it has to be hidden.
That's a really, really good point. That's a really good point. And I do think it's a great point to transition, because I know I said we would talk a little bit about RP styles, and we might get a chance to circle back to that. But what I really do think that this is a perfect opportunity to transition to is, how do we make it engaging and fun for the viewers? Because an actual play, whether it's recorded or whether it's a live stream, is a performance. And we have to have viewers for our performances. So how do we engage the audience? How do, what are the things that you guys do? What are the tools that you use, tips, and everything? Obviously, having the cast be happy and enjoying it is paramount, because no one wants to watch something where everybody is uncomfortable and it's just a bad experience for the players. That makes you uncomfortable. So we have that down. Beyond that, once the players are happy and everybody is on the same page, how are we engaging viewers? How are we making it a fun show to watch and engage in?
I'll gladly touch on the tech side of that, but I'll go afterwards. That way I can kind of bounce off of whatever you guys say.
Well, one thing you can always do that's very on the nose is straight up audience integration, especially in a live stream. I have seen people do pre-recorded things where, like, beforehand they have taken private donations, like if they're doing something via Patreon or Ko-fi, so you still get audience integration. It's just not in real time, but a lot of APs are live. And I've worked when I was on a stream for the DAT network. We had audience integration that was donation based, where they could specifically donate to a character, to give a character an advantage and influence the story, and it gives some kind of a feeling of the stakes. In my my main show, where I'm one of the main cast members on Glenbrook Unhallowed for Unmade Gaming, we have a corruption bar where people can tip to fill it. When it gets filled, the GM gets to do something devious and horrible to us. It is a horror game, so basically just means that the DM gets to mess with us and or mess up a plan, or throw one of our role situations. So it's really fun when the audience gets to straight up influence the story, because they like feeling close. Because a lot of people watch APs even unconsciously the way that you watch TV casually. For a lot of people, they'll watch APs as a part of their evening. They have unwound, they are eating dinner, and you are a part of their routine, and the performers are a part of their everyday, kind of like how you have your commute podcast and you have a connection to yourself, you have a parasocial connection with the podcast host is. They want to feel connected, and if they can in a live stream interact, very important to have somebody who is okay, I am going to be having an eye on chat. Often it's the GM, doesn't have to be. A lot of the performers will actively to keep an eye on chat, because there's a lot of jokes coming in, and doing the audience integration that way of being ha, she called you, and then whatever, she called you a loser or whatever, in little high school settings that I do, that I've been in for Glenbrook Unhallowed, where it's just like they can join in on like the roasting and the fun and the teasing and the jokes, and they can like say like, oh, that line was really funny, and like everybody can like be like, oh yeah, that was really funny, you did a good job, that was funny. It's just the more that you can bring the audience in to the real-time narrative, they're gonna have like such an amazing time, and then later they get to like have that as like a memory of like, oh yeah, you remember when like you know, so and so tipped for the corruption bar right at the height of like your fight, and it made your sword break, and instead you did this like sick backflip that you like thought of in like the second, and you rolled for that instead. And like there can be these really amazing improv moments that only happen because of course you have amazing performers, but also only happen because you did audience integration narratively. So that's like something that with live streams especially, I always like exploring, because of course it's also good revenue if you make it donation based, but it can also be like some people do it bits based on Twitch. So it's just like, oh yeah, you've been here like long enough, you can put this many bits and like we will like add an extra d6 to like so and so's roll.
I've been a part of a bunch of streams that have done that, especially a lot of one-shots and charity games, and that is super fun. And then there are others that try to, we're going to make our game, and we're not necessarily looking for audience interaction in that way, but you do try to still make it fun for the people who are there live. And so going in the opposite direction, hey, every time we roll a natural 20, we're going to do a giveaway in chat. Every time we roll a natural 1, we're going to do a giveaway in chat. Every time, every time something just organically happens in the game, then chat gets to do something or experience something. And so it becomes a little bit like a sporting event in where are you actually on the pitch doing something? No, but when the home run is hit, everybody gets to cheer and everybody gets a free hot dog. Always kosher hot dogs. Go for Hebrew National. So that can always happen. You can also do things, especially if you pre-record your episodes, you can ask your players if they want to hang out in the chat, because sometimes they're okay with hanging out in chat and sometimes not, especially when it's live. But when it's pre-recorded, a lot of people feel a little more comfortable hanging out in the chat because I don't have to worry about performing and chatting at the same time. And being able to interact with the people who are on screen, people enjoy that in chat. They enjoy being able to make a joke and then have someone in the chat be like, oh yeah, that was super funny. So that kind of interaction can help. Also, spending or budgeting time at the beginning or the end or during a commercial break or wherever, in where this is a chance for us to shout out fan art or cool things that have happened in the community, especially fan art or character art that we get. It is so gratifying in so many ways, and being able to say thank you to those people and then show it off is just amazing. So, getting permission from someone who's posted up, I did a drawing of your character and like, hey, are you okay with us showing this on screen? Because this is amazing. How would you like us to display your name? Let's give you a shout out. So having a place in where you can do that, for those actual plays that want to, that don't necessarily want the direct interaction from chat, those are other ways that you can get that interaction.
So speaking from the tech side of things and everything, I would say one of my favorite things is to make it seem more like a television show than a live stream of your Zoom call. So essentially what I like to do is, you think about a television show when something happens. If you are watching B-Dave on X4 or something like that, they have a lot of camera changes. They have like really dynamic camera changes, or they have scenes when things, you can't necessarily do that when you're sitting in your computer chair, like on your laptop, and you're like looking at the screen. So what I do from a production standpoint on the tech side is I try to have as many transitions. I try to have as many different layouts. So for instance, if two people are talking, I have a separate layout for just those two people talking. I have layouts for combat. I have layouts for our peak moments and stuff like that, intros, outros, all those things, those dynamic things, even though static technically, can bring a lot to a show that lets the audience be more engaged visually than if they were watching somebody on Roll20 just rolling, digital dice. it brings a lot to the production, but it also brings the audience in. And I think, in my opinion, it makes it more fun, not only for you as the audience, but as the players. They get to experience something if they ever wanted to go back and watch it, or if they might have your stream open on a separate tab or something like that. They can see all these things happening in real time, and it makes it more exciting for them as players. It's almost the same exact thing as if you're at a physical table and you bring in like a physical prop or something like that and throw it down on the table and be like, check this out. This is the scroll that I just described, or something like that. You can have that open up like on your stream, or if you wanted to like, animate something, or if you wanted to draw something, you can pop it up on screen and have it be more dynamic. Again, more for the viewer, more for the player, and again, just to try and make it as fun as possible while trying not to kind of, you don't want that like behind the curtain scene of like a blank Zoom screen, to really be the kicker of your story. Now, all that said, you of course need a good story and you could need a good storyteller, but all those things can absolutely make up for any faults or make up for any like, slow times or anything like that during the stream. That'll make it just more fun.
I love that you do animated things as well, because I also do asset design and such, and I usually do that also as a part of my like production. I just take over like both jobs, and I've found that like the more dynamic and animated, because I also am a big proponent of game designers either reaching out to artists like streaming asset designers or learning it themselves and releasing streaming kits along with their games. Because what I like to do is I produce a lot of indie games side of like the major game systems, and often if they don't have one, I will then like make streaming kits for them. And I have found if you do animated streaming kits, obviously like within like the lines of like flash warnings, etc., people lose their minds in chat when they see it. Like everybody, when I showed people the gaming kit for my game I Spy, the streaming kit is 36 slides of like overlays. Obviously that a big bulk in the middle is things of like 5-player, 4-player, 3-player configuration where you only use one of them.
I'm gonna pop in really quick. You guys do have to legitimately check out Brandy's I Spy streaming kit. It's sick.
We did show it here. We showed it here when I was on Glyza's show trial run.
Yeah, it's sick. It's so cool.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
But yeah, they really lose their minds over like making it more like cinematic, because it's like the more that you can like do, even from a tech side, from any like position, to kind of make it stand out or make it new or like elevate even just like the look of it, people will lose their minds and be like going off in chat. Something that I've started to do, which this throws people. I was inspired by the Muppets, by the Muppet movies, because they have like beginning credits where like everybody's like the credits at the old Muppet movies, the beginning and end credits are really slow. They're so long. But I really like that, because as a kid, I used to like sit there and be like, I'm going to take in every name of the person that was on this thing that I love. So I have like taken in hundreds of names of people, and like, even if they don't know it, I appreciated them and the work that they did. And so at the end, like we'll do it here too, and we did it here in the beginning. What you always do in streaming spaces is, hi, and this is where you can find me. And what I've started to do and put in these streaming kits, and then also in the APs that I produce, is there are end credit title screens that are animated, where that look like a movie thing. Like, sometimes in a movie it'll be like name as like thing, and then there's a picture, like a video of them. And so what I do now is for cast members is I have that at the end, and I have that at the end of my streaming kits, and I have that at the end of like my productions, where like when you're doing your spiel, instead of being in the group format like we are right now, it's one person only, and like tech will like switch between screens, and it'll be a nice screen, maybe representative of who they played, have their name, the name of their character, their information underneath it. It also leaves you with a good like physical like wiggle room in case they had like an official plug or something that they wanted text-wise underneath it, especially because a lot of us end up like reaching the end and being like, I do things in places.
That happens too often.
So a good way to avoid that is you have that on screen sometimes. Like if you have like their own like title card at the end, then you can legitimately ask them beforehand, be like, what are the links that you would like to push? Like I try to make sure like when I have people because on my podcast network, then I also like tell them up front, like, I'm going to ask you for your stuff, for your links. So if you want to prepare that right now while I do tech, that way you have it, and you're not taken by surprise. I always have my pinned tweet pulled up when I do live appearances, and if I forget my things, I can literally read it off. So yeah, that's like the taking it that extra step further into like a cinematic level. Instinctively, some people might think that it pulls you away from the audience because it makes it more cinematic, but I think so far in my experience, it just makes them more hype. It just makes them so excited, and it makes them excited to see how much work you put into this thing that they get to appreciate, which is very cool.
I just want to bridge onto that really quick, because I don't watch a ton of actual plays, but I watch some when I can fit it in. But I can tell you, I never, ever, ever am able to watch when it's live. So the fact that it is great when there's stuff going on in chat and everything, but for me, as a viewer who's coming on weeks later, sometimes months later, maybe a year or more later, #CriticalRole, I legitimately, that doesn't affect me. But when there's cool stuff happening on camera, when there's interesting video things, that's all really cool for me. Sometimes I don't see that because I've just got it like, I'm like taking a break from work and eating lunch on my porch, and I just have it kind of playing as my background. But regardless, these are all really cool points, whether it's visual, whether it's other things. So, yeah, props. These are all great ideas. Dan, you had something to say, and then I think Lauren, you wanted to hop in with something.
I was just gonna say, let me pick it back off something you just said, so I don't forget it. But it was basically the audio production of your Let's Play or your actual play should be on point as well. You should have some sort of copyright-free music playing in the background, like kind of low and roll, obviously not high enough to where people can't like hear what people are saying. You can dynamically change between battle music and like regular, calm music. But like I even had sound effects a lot of times during my campaign. So if they cast a spell or if they do a certain thing, all of a sudden a sound effect pops up. That kind of stuff adds to your production quality. Again, all of that combined will bring people in. And if you want to take your actual play to another level, just think about the production. Think about what other people while watching would enjoy. And I think one of my things that I was going to say right after Brandon was talking was basically, if whatever you do in your actual play, once you have passed session 0 and you have gotten into actually putting it on the screen and everything like that, just think about the audience. Think about the people that are watching this less than what you are going to bring to the game, because you're going to bring to the game what you're already going to bring to the game. You're going to bring to the game what you would bring to the game at a table. But you need to think about the audience, the people that are watching or listening to you. And when you start thinking about that, that's when you're going to bring your production, or that's when you're going to bring your actual play to the next level.
And I'm going to touch on 3 quick things. First off, the fact that Brandy thinks about end credits is beautiful. As both a performer and as someone who has helped a little bit with production, having end credits or beginning credits or mid credits. And so as a performer, I don't have to worry if I have that moment of, it also makes it that seamless transition depending on the style of your actual play. If you have a serious show and then need to suddenly transition at the end to, hi, I'm Lauren Urban, I'm the content coordinator. You've just been crying on screen and now you got to be happy. Having those end credits is beautiful for both as a performer and then for the audience to not be as jarring, because everyone can tell this is a pre-recorded, this is, put together. So the fact that Brandy said that is amazing. Make sure as a player, as a performer, and we all hate it, watch yourself play on the stream. Even if you're not doing it every single week, watch bits and pieces, watch a show here and there, both so that you can critique your own stuff. Oh, I really need to adjust my camera. I'm not doing a good job of doing this. I need to do this more. But also so that you can appreciate the production that's going into stuff, because a lot of performers don't want to have the stream up live while they're playing. A lot of performers they want to be able to focus on in. And so being able to go back and see some of the stuff that's happening while you are performing, it gives you an appreciation for a bigger appreciation for the production, but it also means, oh, when they do this transition, like I can do this in order to help, to highlight if now I know we're going to be in a twofer, now we're going to be in a threefer. So knowing that's the kind of stuff and being aware of that can help highlight the awesome things the production is doing. I've forgotten what the last thing is, so I'm just going to say that's awesome. Oh, I remember what it is. Have a moment at the beginning of your actual play where you give a recap. Doesn't have to be extensive.
Yes.
Does not have to
sure.
be huge. You
100%.
don't have to go into details. Like, just give enough of a recap, in 30 seconds to a minute, so that someone who has never watched your show before at least gets the main beats they need to know. Because my favorite thing for shows or podcasts that do that I'm recommending to people, especially shows like Critical Role or, my podcast, which has been on for 5 years and has hundreds of episodes, and people look at that and go, that's a lot. And I go, don't worry. Start with the most recent episode. There's a recap at the beginning, and then you can watch and listen to the rest of it and get an idea if this is the show for you without being completely lost. So even if it's brief, do a recap.
Yep.
Just
I have a
wanna-
GM who actually
Go
used to
ahead.
make that part of the game.
Ooh.
Akinomi. So at the beginning, she'd be like, okay, you guys all start off with like 2 hero points. But for a 3rd hero point, everybody give me a recap of something that happened last game. And by saying that, it also like leaves the room for like, there were like 5 of us. So all of us could say something, because nobody's going to remember everything, especially while you're performing. You're not necessarily the same level engaged the whole time through of like memorizing what happened. And it's often been like a week or 2 since you've like filmed, if it's not in bulk. And so like everybody would say something, and then whatever we didn't say, Aki would be able to be like, and then finally we also did this, and this, if there was anything left over, and be like, and you all get an extra hero point. So it would also like affect the story, be part of the game. And people would be like watching and being like, who's gonna get like a hero point, who's gonna get like inspiration this time. So it's a really cool way to integrate it if you don't have like a standardized recap.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. I want to mention something about watching yourself on stream, especially for new players, new DMs, people who are new to actual plays and live streaming. The important thing to remember is this is not to critique yourself as a person. So to critique your looks, how you appear on camera. This is about lighting, it's about camera angles, it's about, how could I enhance the story? The reason why I point that out is because I've become a little bit more vocal about something that I have going on. So I have ADHD, and comorbid with that, really frequently comorbid, which means it appears at the same time, are tic disorders. And I have several tics, and I tend to fidget a lot as a result of them. Some I can control because I notice them. But I have to remind myself that that is not something that I need to be focusing on when I'm on camera, and I see myself. And I see that is not an opportunity for me to be like, oh, why are you sniffing so much? Or, why are you shivering? Why are you doing the head twitch thing? Those are not moments for you to do that. And we already get so much criticism from the outside world. We don't need to put that on ourselves. So if you're a player, if you're the DM, that's not what you're supposed to be focusing on, because it isn't what's important. And I know from what people have told me is that my fidgeting isn't always as distracting as I think it is. It isn't always as noticeable as I think it is. And even if it is a part of who I am. And so, and as somebody fantastic said on one of our earlier streams, you should not have to apologize for who you are. So that's not our last point, but we do have 5 minutes left. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to share your one best tip. Like, here's your in it to win it tip. If you take nothing away from this, like, take this away, and then what we'll do is our little outros. So who wants to go first with their number one hit, their number one tip for folks? Nope.
My number one, if you don't mind, my number one tip is, then this is very much, I am a very type A person, and I also have horrible ADHD, and I have the memory of a goldfish. So my number one tip: write everything down. Write everything down. As a producer, you want everything written out. The moment you start having an idea, write the concept out. Then like write out what exactly, who is it going to take to make this happen? What does your cast like look like? What does your crew look like? And it doesn't even mean like what's your cast look like, who are you casting? No, I have outlines where it says character A, character B, character C, character D, and then in the column next to it is in episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4 is in episode 2, episode 1. And from that, you also like immediately from this outline of like, who do I need to contact? How many people do I need? How many moving pieces are there? You can immediately be like, this is the person, this is the scope of work, this is how much it's going to cost. You have all of that bundled together. And then during your session zeros, during your intake, during your casting, during every step of the process, during every meeting you have with tech, write everything down. Write down what they said. Write down what tech needs from you. Write down as you think like, oh, I should add this. Yeah, write it down. I just opened this earlier and I was like, remember to bill pre-recording for the end credit scene, because I realized I had it written down, but I hadn't written the dollar amount next to it yet, because I hadn't allotted the exact time slot because we're not there yet in production. And I was just like, let me write that down beforehand. And I wrote it down. So yeah, write everything down. If you're not sure of like an official format, it doesn't really matter. Whatever is readable to you. But make sure to write it down. Write down people's payment info. Write down everything. Everything. Write it down.
I would say mine is kind of like a half and half. It's not just like one exact thing, but I'd say the most important thing: research and collaborate. Research your actual plays. Go and watch other people's shows. See what works, see what doesn't. See what they're doing that you might like, because that is where you're going to find your specific brand. You're going to like something about theirs. You're going to like something about theirs. And you're going to find something that whenever you put all that together, that is you. That is your brand. That is what people will come to watch you for. And then collaborate. Just find people that are like-minded, people that are either in your sphere of influence, wherever it might be, and collaborate with people. If they're doing the same project or some project that is similar, go on their show or invite them to your show or do whatever it takes, but you can collaborate with people and it makes for such a better audience and it makes for such a better experience for everybody.
I mean, Dan and Brandy kind of covered all sorts of amazing things, especially when it comes to production. Like that, all of that was amazing. I will add a small thing from a performer side, which is communicate, and don't be afraid of that pre-planning communication, even though this is an actual play, because that is one of the biggest differences with a stream show versus a home game. Is you are needing to be entertaining to other people. And just because you're going to take time in between this episode and the next episode to message the group and say, hey, this is really cool, this thing that happened, can we expand on that? Or this happened and I would love to have a moment, you know, my character, your character, or I'm trying to make this thing happen for my character, can I get help? Those kind of story building prep, you know, can help a lot, because the worst thing that we all hate in an actual play when you're a performer is that dead air. And it happens to everybody. We all have that moment that everyone's thinking or no one's sure where to go. But having some of those, hey, I want to be able to do this with you. I want to be able to step back and let the two of you talk or have this moment happen. Even if you're not planning exactly what's going to happen. It's just that, hey, can we talk in character about this? Not only is that super helpful for being extra prepared for the show, it also helps afterwards when you're doing a cool down or when you're talking afterwards. If there's any bleed that's happened, for those that don't know what bleed is, really quick, it's when the feelings that your character are having can meld into how you're feeling. If you've had a session where your character is angry, even though you might still be super happy with the people, some of that might bleed in and you might be angry. So getting over some of that, having that communication in between shows, even if it's just checking in with the other players and the DM, super important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there I am. like I said, I just have to mute the Google Meet that we use for captioning. And I was like, where'd the window go? These are all fantastic points. I have to say, I say this every stream, but it's true. We have fantastic guests. I am always blown away by the talent that we have on our show. Like, you guys are amazing. And this is all great advice. This is Dan's like, oh, stop it. I love it.
No, keep going. You're good.
It is, but it's true. It's true. There's so much that has come out of this. I hope that people watch this again. We'll definitely see about capturing a couple of clips on some things and clipping some of this because it's really good stuff. I want to thank you guys for appearing with us. This has been a fantastic show. I'm so appreciative of you guys. I want to give you the opportunity to say who you are again, where people can find you. The where people can find you is super important because I am sure that if they're not following you now before, people are going to be wanting to follow you now because there's some great stuff that you guys shared. So let's take it in alphabetical. And then we're going to raid Sensei Suplex once we're done with this. So hang out afterwards and watch his great show.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Again, I am Brandy Rose at TheBrandyRose on Twitter, at Cutest Patoot on TikTok and Twitch, and I am at Brandy Rose Official on Instagram, if that's where you are. I try to use that one more often now, kind of neglected it a little. But I am a producer, director, and performer, as well as the head of a podcast network and host of at this point 10. Do we have 10 shows in the network already? I don't know. There's so many. There's so many under Patoot Podcast, which has its own Twitter at Patoot Podcast. We have a new show that just launched and joined the network, To Be Movie or Not To Be Movie. It is not about the Jerry Seinfeld movie. It is about the genre of B movies. I have had to clarify that many times because I've had people go, oh my God. And I'm like, yay, hype. And they're like, I can't believe you made a whole show about the B movie. And I'll go, huh? I did what? No. So that is out. That is hosted by myself and at the Kappa Crest Christian, who is also the technical producer. So it is the highest quality level show of the network. So I'm very, very excited for that to now be out. We have a new episode that is coming out today about where we did Piranaconda. So make sure to check that out. Apart from that, you can always catch me on Twitter. That's also going to be where I announce my Patoot Talks on Twitch, where on Twitch I live stream designing my games, I live stream working on my own streaming assets, and I live stream the outline documents of AP production, which if you go to like my Ko-fi or anything, I also have for like $1 or something, you can buy outlines of like how to structure APs. Because I've found that those documents can really help people copy paste and figure out how they need to restructure things. So yeah, you'll find me all over the net. I'm constantly performing somewhere. I just wrapped an audiobook. So I'm also a voice actor. So you will literally see me everywhere. I am inevitable. Thank you very much for having me on here.
I am inevitable is like the best quote.
How in the hell am I supposed to follow that up? Okay, well, I am Dan Munoz, and you can find me everywhere. Whatever website you're on, you just type in /NatOneFun, you'll probably find me. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. And I'm not as inevitable, but you could probably find me all those places. You can see me today, like right after the show, probably like within half an hour of closing out here. We are going to play some Winter's End, which is a Rime of the Frost Maiden actual play. So you can see us there. And then on every other Wednesday, you can catch us doing Running Wild, which is basically like an isekai situation where real life people get thrown into the Forgotten Realms, which then get thrown into the Feywild. So it's a wild ride, really fun though. Have an amazing cast and crew as well. And then Mondays, you can catch me on in an improv show where we do TTRPG improv with zero prep time, and it's really fun. We do that with in accordance with 1985 games. And then next Friday, you can catch me on Gehenna Gaming's channel, where we are going to be running some more Morkborg, and I will be a player in that game, which is always fun. But yeah, you can also catch me on Gehenna Gaming from time to time. I am the creative director over at Gehenna Gaming. So yeah, that's pretty much me. That's what I do. I do a lot of production stuff. I do a lot of fun animations and goofy stuff like that.
And hi, I'm Lauren Urban. I am a fan of Brandy and Dan because producers are amazing and they make my life as a performer incredibly, incredibly better. And thank your producers. Thank them before, during, and after because they're amazing and do all sorts of stuff and don't get enough credit for what they do because they are not always on screen. So thank you. If you would like to see me being on screen, you can follow me on Twitter at OboLauren, which is where I post most of my stuff. I am the content coordinator over at Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, which means you can find me doing a lot of streaming and a little bit of production over on it's CNE Games on that Twitch. As for other places, I am the DM of Distinguished Adventures, which is a podcast that has been running for many, many years with some of my best friends. And we come out every other Monday. There will be a new episode on Monday where we're starting our post 20 level 20 arc. So, hey, if you want to come listen to my players do one last job, that's what we're going to be doing. On Tuesdays, I am on the Demiplane RPG channel for Children of Erte, the show that is DM'd by Deborah Ann Wall and some amazing players that I get to play with every week that I'm blessed every time to play with them. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, and that's where you can find me mostly playing TTRPGs and every once in a while Obo, because that's what I used to do for a living.
And finally, I am Jamie Van Doren, and basically, I would rather you follow Neverending, which you can find everywhere at Be Neverending. That is BENEVERENDING. Wow, I almost didn't bring it home, but I did it the last minute in the clutch. But anyways, yeah,
Worked.
I'm super excited because we are constantly doing really cool shows. Definitely follow us on Twitter and on Twitch and on Reddit and on Facebook and on Instagram, because we are Be Neverending at all of those places, and we're creating a really cool web app, and we need your support, which includes just your feedback on what types of features you would like and what types of art and what types of character options, what types of scenes and backgrounds, and all of that fun stuff. And with that, thank you all for coming. This was a great show. We are so grateful to you, our guests, and to our audience as well. Take your DA for inspiration and have a fantastic day. Bye, everybody.